Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me today because we are tackling something that literally keeps the global economy moving, and that is supply chain resilience. If you've ever found yourself wondering how massive companies avoid total disaster when things go wrong across the globe, well, you're in the exact right place. Okay, let's dive right into this. Picture this. You're looking at a perfectly formatted morning operations report. Everything is green. Everyone is happy. The plan looks completely flawless. But out in the real world, a massive storm just delayed a cargo ship, a supplier's machine unexpectedly broke down, or maybe a delivery truck is just stuck in endless traffic. So what actually happens when reality deviates from that perfect plan?
Well, it usually looks like a classic supply chain butterfly effect. Think about this for a second. A single low-cost component, we're talking maybe a tiny plastic fastener or a basic microchip, arrives late. Now, on its own, that sounds like a totally minor hiccup, right? But in a complex manufacturing network, that tiny delay cascades. Suddenly, it is threatening to shut down an entire multi-million-dollar production line. The operational fallout is massive, and it happens incredibly fast.
So, to figure out how businesses actually survive this chaos, we're going to unpack a really critical layer of B2B software together. Here is our roadmap for The Explainer today. We'll start with the supply chain blind spot, then enter the control tower and see its core features in action. After that, we'll look at reaping the benefits, and finally, mastering the implementation. Let's get right to it.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the supply chain blind spot. Before we can really appreciate the solution here, we've got to understand the massive headache operations managers deal with every single day. Modern companies have mountains of data, sure, but it is dangerously fragmented. Think about it. Your carriers are out there updating isolated web portals. Your purchasing team, they're buried deep inside an ERP system. Meanwhile, warehouse staff are relying on separate handheld scanners, and your site security might literally still be relying on phone calls or printed emails just to know who's coming in. Throw in Industry 4.0 with its countless machine sensors, and the whole picture becomes completely overwhelming. The data is all there, but it is dangerously isolated across different departments.
Which brings us to Section 2. Enter the control tower.
Think about a really busy airport. It absolutely desperately needs an air traffic control system to prevent chaos among thousands of moving parts, right? Well, modern supply chains need a centralized brain too. So the crucial point is a supply chain control tower is exactly that. It's a connected software layer that gathers operational data, tracks events across the network, and helps teams respond when reality deviates from the plan. It sits right there between planning and execution. It's not about forcing everyone to abandon the tools they already use. It's about seamlessly pulling all those data fragments together so teams finally have a shared, up-to-date view.
Now, you might be wondering, does this replace what companies already have? Nope. The control tower doesn't replace your legacy tech at all. Your ERP is still going to handle your business transactions and materials. Your TMS, your transportation management system, that still plans your freight routes. Your WMS still directs the warehouse loading. What the control tower does is sit above all of them. Its main job is reading and interpreting activity across all those systems to give you critical context. It flags exceptions, calculates your exposure, and figures out possible responses.
Moving right along to Section 3, core features in action.
Let's actually look under the hood and see how this software works mechanically. The workflow generally follows 4 chronological steps. First, it has to collect that multi-source data. We're talking about ingesting messy API feeds, IoT sensors, spreadsheets, all of it. Second, it monitors events in real time, constantly watching for things like gate arrivals. Third, it detects disruptions and bottlenecks. So it might flag a misdelivery window or even use machine learning to notice a tiny supplier delay that usually causes downstream problems. And finally, step 4, it supports faster decisions by pushing all this context directly to the people who can actually do something about it.
To pull all of that off, the tower leans on some highly essential features. You get end-to-end visibility and role-specific dashboards, meaning the transport manager and the customer service rep only see what matters to them. But I really want you to focus on that third point. Predictive analytics and digital twins. This is where it gets absolutely fascinating. By creating a digital model of the supply chain, the software can estimate what might happen next. Say a truck is delayed, the system can actually digitally test out resequencing a production line before loading dock gets double booked in real life. And of course, the whole shebang is integrated tightly with major enterprise systems like SAP or Oracle.
But, and this is a big but, with all this automation, there is a golden rule to remember. AI in supply chain operations is most useful when the reasoning remains visible. Even with incredible AI ranking your response options, human review is still absolutely crucial. Planners have to understand the assumptions behind a recommendation. Because when you're dealing with safety protocols, strict contracts, or massive expenses, you absolutely still need that expert human in the loop making the final call.
Next up, Section 4, Reaping the Benefits.
So why go through the massive effort of building this complex system? Well, the advantages ripple across the entire network. You get highly accurate inventory management, lower transportation costs, and vastly better collaboration because, finally, everyone is looking at the exact same data. But let's really zero in on that faster response to costly disruptions. Early detection literally preserves your choices. If the system catches a delay early enough, your team might be able to simply transfer inventory from another nearby site. But if you find out 12 hours later, you might be forced to pay thousands for emergency overnight freight. Catching things early keeps your options open.
And we see so many diverse sectors relying on this tech to manage their own unique operational risks. In manufacturing, it's all about tracking component parts. For retail and e-commerce, it's about instantly knowing if a shortage is just a local blip or a massive global crisis. The automotive industry uses this for strictly sequenced inbound deliveries. Food and beverage rely on it to track shelf life and refrigerated temperatures, and healthcare and pharma absolutely depend on control towers for product traceability and integrity.
Finally, Section 5, Mastering the Implementation.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the stark contrast between success and failure when actually setting this up. The absolute best practice: integrate reliable, well-documented data sources first. You have to get the foundation stable. The most common mistake is completely ignoring data quality. If you just connect a bunch of unreliable data at massive scale, you're just creating a much larger pool of uncertainty. It doesn't matter how pretty or confident your dashboard looks. If it's built on bad data where arrived means two totally different things in two different apps, your automated decisions are going to be completely wrong. And speaking of strategy, another best practice is to define clear, measurable business objectives right out of the gate, like specifically targeting lower detention costs. A huge mistake is focusing purely on the shiny new technology while totally underestimating employee adoption and process design. Let's be real for a second. A brilliant piece of software cannot fix an undefined escalation process or a broken operating model. If your teams don't have clear decision rights, that control tower just becomes another screen they look at during a meeting and ignore the rest of the day.
We also absolutely have to talk about the elephant in the room, cybersecurity. A control tower processes incredibly sensitive information about your facilities, your suppliers, your routes, your inventory. Since it is a highly connected layer, it is paramount to design your environment with role-based access and strong encryption. Guidelines like the NIST SP 800-161 provide really vital frameworks to mitigate these network risks. Data protection has to be baked in from day one, no exceptions.
So as we bring this all together, if you remember one thing today, make it this core philosophy. Its value appears in the choices that remain available. Stock can still be moved, production can still be resequenced. Listen, the control tower doesn't magically eliminate uncertainty from the world. Storms are still going to happen, trucks are definitely still going to break down. But what it does is buy you the time to creatively navigate that uncertainty before all your options just vanish. Which leaves us with one final, provocative question to ponder. Will your supply chain preserve the power of choice when uncertainty strikes next? The tools to connect the dots are out there, ready to transform those isolated data fragments into visible, controlled workflows. I really hope this explainer gave you a solid, structured roadmap of how control towers can optimize your operations. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.